David Fuller is a name that sends chills down the bones of those who are familiar with his heinous acts. Fuller is a frightening incarnation of brutality and wickedness in the annals of human history. This video goes deeply into the depths of Fuller's deeds, uncovering the nefarious trail he left behind and the long-term consequences of his terrible legacy. However, Wendy Nell, a 25-year-old woman, was spending the night of June 22, 1987 with her lover. They returned to Wendy's bedsit as the clock approached midnight. They kissed each other goodnight, mindful of her early morning work responsibility. Wendy's absence from work the next morning caused alarm among her co-workers. Her boyfriend, Ian, hurried to her bedsit when he couldn't reach her. When he walked in, he discovered Wendy had been brutally slain, with traces of assault. The culprit had gained in through a broken window. The police launched an inquiry and discovered DNA evidence, despite the fact that DNA forensics was only in its infancy at the time. Wendy's bedsit showed no traces of forced entry, suggesting that the killer had been following her and grabbed an opportunity when she was out. Wendy's personal life was investigated, looking for motivations among jealous exes or hidden companions, but no clues were found. A strange feature emerged, a shoe pattern on Wendy's shirt that matched a Clark sports trick trainer. Furthermore, the killer removed personal stuff, maybe as a reminder of their heinous crime. A neighbor recounted an interaction with an unknown guy the day before Wendy's death, who advised her about keeping windows open at night. The description fit the possible murderer. Caroline Pierce, another lady from the same region, went missing 5 months later, on November 24, 1987. Wendy's fate was repeated when her body was discovered weeks later. Both ladies lived alone, worked as store assistants on the same street, and lived less than a mile apart. As stories circulated of a suspicious guy prowling in the locations where both ladies resided, an uncanny parallel developed. The inquiry became more intense, finding disturbing aspects such as the possibility of a probable serial murderer. For decades, the cases went unresolved until advances in forensic science enabled authorities to get a DNA profile of the defendant. David Fuller, a 66-year-old electrician and father of two, was arrested in 2020. Photographs from his residence from the 1980s matched the shoe print, and evidence showed he had already met the victims. Further inquiry revealed Fuller's alarming behavior over a long period of time. He had utilized his position at the hospital to perform necrophilic actions on victims, meticulously recording his misdeeds. Fuller, who was characterized as average and calm, pleaded guilty to the allegations. Moreover, in an emotional courtroom, police officers and relatives of those assaulted in mortuaries met the guy responsible for these horrible deeds. David Fuller, a nondescript guy in a gray sweatshirt with a balding head described by the judge as a vulture, suffered the repercussions of 34 years of hiding behind a mask of apparent normalcy. Fuller's atrocities included the murder and rape of defenseless women. Wendy Nell, 25, was found assaulted and beaten to death in her Tunbridge Wells, Kent bedsit in June 1987. Caroline Pierce, 20, went missing from her bedsit in neighboring Grosvenor Park 5 months later. Her body was discovered on Romney Marsh, approximately 40 miles distant, many weeks later. Ms. Justice Chima Grubb remarked that, following the unsolved killings of Nell and Pierce, a high-profile local awareness campaign likely deterred Fuller from claiming more victims, as women grew more watchful. However, Fuller soon discovered a new way to carry out his unpleasant activities by acquiring access to hospital mortuaries in his capacity as an electrician. Family relatives of the victims gathered in Maidstone's largest courtroom to confront their fears. This was their chance to confront the guy who had sexually molested their loved ones, as well as over 100 other victims at 2 hospital mortuaries. The parents, children, and spouses of women and girls who died from a variety of circumstances, including car accidents, cancer, old age, and, in some cases, suicide. Fuller's misdeeds were revealed to them when police officials knocked on their houses in October of the same year. Many family members preferred not to reveal the specifics to others, overwhelmed by the tragedy of Fuller's conduct. The embarrassment and misery were too much for them to handle, so they resolved to shoulder the burden alone. They approached the courtroom with a deep reservoir of hatred and sadness, but also with courage. This was their chance to express the grief that had been kept up for so long. If they could summon the courage to confront Fuller, the man who tormented their dreams, they could make impact statements and speak straight to him in the witness box. These courageous individuals challenged Fuller one by one, reflecting the profound and long-lasting impact of his conduct. A tearful mother accused him of raping her child, a loved one she had guiltily entrusted into his care. As these family members related their memories, the grief and shame were obvious, reflecting the tremendous and long-lasting wounds that Fuller had left in their lives. The weight of communal sadness and rage pervaded the air in the courtroom. The family sought peace and closure in the knowledge that Fuller was finally being held accountable for the horrific suffering he had inflicted. They restored a sense of power and and control over their narratives as they confronted the guy behind the horrible atrocities. The courtroom became a furnace of emotions, a place where they could confront the darkness that had dominated their lives. Fuller, the perpetrator of these heinous crimes, was in jail, forced to face the misery he had caused countless lives. The judge's description of him as a vulture struck a chord with the families, reflecting the predatory character of his acts as well as the severe impact on those who were left behind. In the end, the courtroom became a symbol of perseverance and fortitude as the families expressed their sorrow and addressed Fuller. Despite the unthinkable darkness, these people summoned the fortitude to confront the guy who had assaulted their loved ones, assuring that his actions would no longer be hidden. As the judicial procedures progressed, the families sought not only justice but also closure and healing from the profound wounds left by David Fuller's heinous actions. However, what appears to be equally crucial is that the events that enabled Fuller to commit his crimes be thoroughly investigated. This is not an isolated incident. All you have to do is mention Jimmy Savile's name. The television personality obtained entry to the Stoke Mandeville Hospital mortuary and did the same. People who desire to do these things find a way. Even if no one wants to enter their heads, we must think like them in order to stay one step ahead. That is preferable to police officers spending months, like they did with Fuller, examining his videotaped deeds in order to identify his victims and document his years of wickedness. The families want a legislative inquiry with the authority to compel witnesses to testify, and they want a say in defining the scope of the probe. It is unclear whether this is taking place. They are also concerned that the guy hired by the hospital to examine what happened, Sir Jonathan Michael, has also been nominated to continue the government investigation. This is a deeply distressing case, said Sajid Javid, Secretary of State for Health and Social Care. While nothing will repair the devastation done, David Fuller was brought to justice today for his heinous actions. I'd like to express my heartfelt regret to the friends and families of all the victims for what happened. We are taking steps to guarantee that this does not happen again. First, NHS England and Improvement have received assurances from all NHS trusts that risk assessments on their mortuary and body storage facilities have been completed and that their practices are in accordance with existing Human Tissue Authority guidance. Second, we have made significant progress in establishing the independent investigation. Sir Jonathan Michael, the chair, has produced draft terms of reference and will consult with families on them in the next year before they are released. Everyone is glad that David Fuller will die in jail for the crimes he committed, but it is horrifying for the families of the two slain women because after 34 years of not knowing, when they finally gained closure, a whole new world of terror opened up for them. We must confront the darkness within humanity as we dive into the horrifying story of David Fuller, one of the worst individuals ever to exist. What motivates people to go to such lengths, and what can we learn from their awful actions? Participate in the discussion by sharing your opinions on the intricacies of human nature. Well, that's it for today. Make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing videos. Thanks for watching the video. We'll see you at the next one.